Annenberg Media.
With additional support from Equicor Equitable HCA Corporation, the Good Listening Employee Benefits Company.
We do not all start life on an even playing field. But the rules are that we all play it by the rules of honesty and ethics.
Before I took that case, I had to agree that I would do anything ethical to defend that man.
So I'm going to just do the best I can. Is it imperfect? You bet. Is it awful? Well, maybe so.
Isn't there a point in a civilized society where one man has to be willing to step outside the system and say, no, I cannot do this because it's wrong?
I think we're at that point, which is nice in the sense, ethically, where we don't have the rules to protect us. We have to agonize with ourselves and our conscience.
As a sergeant during World War II, I took orders from many officers and may have given orders to a few soldiers myself. When an officer commanded, move out or fire, soldiers were expected to salute, shout yes sir, and do it. No questions asked. The troops in World War II did their duty, no matter how difficult or unpleasant, but out of loyalty to their commanders and to their country. Loyalty in simple terms means devotion to a cause so intense that it gives meaning to life, directs all choices, and overwhelms all other values. Sometimes, loyalty means sacrificing your life for others, as so many young soldiers did in Korea and in Vietnam. That kind of loyalty is essential to any Army or Navy, but absolute loyalty can, in some circumstances, corrupt a soldier's own sense of moral duty. The obedience of German soldiers during World War II and the massacre at My Lai during Vietnam are but two examples. If such absolute loyalty can be unethical, how do we teach our soldiers and ourselves to be loyal and ethical? The moderator of this hypothetical case study is Professor Charles Ogletree.
We're in Metropolis today, a large northeastern city. In downtown, there is the military recruitment office. Major Stewart, you're the recruitment officer. My name is Jerry Irving Joe. I'm interested in being a soldier.
And why is that?
Well, because a couple of reasons. Last night, I went to see Rambo for the third time. And my God, I want to fight. I want to learn how to shoot those guns. I want to be a soldier.
If you saw Rambo, you don't want to be a soldier, you want to be a Marine.
I want to be great. Well, then I'm in the right place. Can I sign up?
You have to take what we call the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. And that examination is a qualifying examination. If you pass those, then we're going to send you off for a physical examination to ensure that you meet the basic physical qualifications. I'm going to do a police check on you. We'll tie all of that together to ensure that what you're telling us and what appears to be true is in fact true, that you are qualified for enlistment. Then we will contract you, send you off to boot camp, and make you a Marine.
Mr. Downs, I make it through all the tests, and now I'm ready to go to boot camp. And lo and behold, you're my drill sergeant.
I got you.
What do I expect the first day?
A day of misery. I'm going to break you down. I'm going to make you afraid of me. I'm going to make you understand that discipline is the bottom line. And I'm going to make you understand that what I say is law. We're going to start right with the basics. I'm not going to take any backlift from you. And I'm going to explain how we're going to do things from now on. Because one thing that I do want you to do when you graduate from basic training, and you will do that, is that you're going to understand the chain of command. You're going to understand your role and what you're supposed to be doing, and when someone gives you an order, you're to follow it.
I'm supposed to learn how to follow orders.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Absolutely. I don't want any questions from you. You are mine. And if you don't want to face that fact, we don't want you.
Well,
we're not going to let you chicken out. No, sir. We're going to put you through every pace that we can put you through. We're going to make a soldier out of you.
What kind of weapons am I going to learn how to use?
The M16, the grenade, the bayonet, a little hand-to-hand.
What do you mean
basics,
hand-to-hand?
Hand-to-hand combat is part of it. Just learning how to deal with an enemy when you no longer have any weapons.
So this is self-defense?
Self-defense, or actually any aggressive activity you have to take. Why, we want you to be able to take care of yourself and kill the enemy.
Wait. Now, you want me to take some aggressive action? I'm going to initiate something?
That's what this is all about.
I came here to protect and to defend.
That's correct. But there will be times when you're going to have to take the aggressive action. When you are being attacked, that's defense. To protect yourself, that's offense.
Now, what about this bayonet training?
Well, it'll teach you the basics of how to fix bayonets, how to use it against the enemy to kill them, and how to take care of it.
Why do we have bayonets on rifles? You got the rifle, why not shoot?
That's what we prefer, but when you run out of ammunition, or if the enemy overruns you, you don't have time to reload, you've got to use an entrenching tool, whatever is at hand to protect yourself and your men around you, and to regain the initiative.
It sounds like you're teaching me to become a killing machine.
Oh, absolutely. I've not got you in here for any other purpose. We have the basics, certainly, but the bottom line of what you're to do is to kill men and take ground.
And that's what I should learn through basic training.
You're going to learn how to accomplish that, and part of that is discipline, and you're going to have to learn not to question it, because there is a purpose behind our orders.
And there may be a purpose that tells me to kill without questioning it.
There may come a time when that would be necessary, and you've got to realize that.
Colonel Tatum, you're the chaplain. I've just finished basic training, Lieutenant Downs. I'm a little worried. I came into this training and this interest in being in the military thinking that I wanted to be Rambo, that I wanted to learn how to kill, I wanted to use guns. And that was fine until toward the end of basic training. We had bayonet training, and everything changed. These silhouettes, these targets became real to me. He had me stabbing people. He had me killing people and making sure that they were dead. And I believe in the Bible when it says, "Thou shalt not kill." I'm troubled by what I've learned. I'm troubled by the fact that now, after 6 weeks, I think I can kill a man. Is that right?
First thing we're going to do is we're going to sit down and talk about it. And we're going to talk about your understanding of what that verse means, "Thou shalt not kill."
Well, what does it mean?
Well, I think most would interpret that to mean you will not as an individual premeditate to take a life.
Okay.
And I think that's different than acting on behalf of a recognized government that has gone to war.
Well, we're not in war yet. We were in training. He's talking about he's going to teach me how to kill.
Well, I certainly hope you're not going to run out on the streets and practice your training. That any time you put that training into practice, it's going to be because your nation has declared war on an aggressor. And you've been put in that war in order to defend the nation, or to at least defend some innocent people off in another land.
And will God forgive me if I kill to defend my country?
I believe he will.
Father Hare?
I think when you enter the military, the function of the military involves the possibility of using force. Secondly, the possibility of using force doesn't mean you can use it any time, under any circumstances, in any way, even when you're in the military. It seems to me it's fundamental to both the moral argument and the legal argument that's adopted in the secular world, that even in wartime, the whole society is not open to attack.
Would you say something different to me? G.I. Joe, I've just finished basic training, and I'm concerned about this thought of having to kill another man.
Mm-hmm. I think it is good that you have the thought that, that killing one single individual is an awesome action. I think, secondly, I understand the nature of military discipline. I understand why it must be cast in the terms in which it's been put to you. But I also would put to you the added fact that the post-World War II Nuremberg judgment says you can't follow every order under all circumstances just because somebody gave you an order. And so I want enough of that individual identity left within you that at some point in time you could say no to an order.
Lieutenant Downs?
He better not say no to my order.
General Westmoreland, you are the division commander in a country called South Khorasan. South Khorasan happens to be a democratic government that we have a treaty, a mutual defense treaty with. And South Khorasan has been in battle with North Khorasan for some period of time. This morning, the North Khorasanese launched a provocative attack into South Khorasan. They crossed the border. There's this ongoing attack in South Khorasan. In fact, one of your battalions is completely wiped out, and 2 others have been hit very seriously. You are losing men fast. What can you do?
Well, we must assume that the military chain of command would be alerted to this possibility, and that we would have full authority to fight back because we would be the defenders against an aggressor. So what I would do is to maneuver my troops in order to try to destroy those elements that cross the border.
Now, does that mean you can cross the border into North Khorasan?
Not without political authority.
Would you like more authority to make military decisions and not have to wait until it goes up the chain of command?
Well, the local commander does have the prerogative of deploying his troops and fighting off an attack.
And that's what you'll do?
Now, my guess is that I would need reinforcements, and that request would be known loud and clear to the authorities in Washington.
Mr. Jennings, you get a call about this attack, but you don't get much information. All you get, it's 10 minutes to 6, and you go on the 6 o'clock news. You get the report that an American battalion has been attacked by North Khorasanese troops, and a number of American soldiers have been killed. Do you air that?
I've got 10 minutes to check it out.
Yep.
Ironically, it's not my very first thought. My very first thought is also the same as the general's: reinforcements. Who have we got in the area? What access do we have to the immediate area? Because I know that at 10 minutes to 6, I'm going to have to rely on Washington. I'm going to have to rely on the Pentagon. But the very basic thing I want to know is quite simple. Has the attack occurred? Have there been casualties? If I have enough time, I'll want to know how sustained the attack has been, how profound the casualties are. We'll be running around like chickens with our heads cut off. We'll be about the same state as the military if this thing has come unannounced.
Well, if you get no information, are you going to make some kind of a report?
I think the chances are that at the beginning of the broadcast, I would say we have had a report which we are unable to confirm, that there has been an attack across the border between North and South Khorasan, that American forces may have engaged the North Khorasanese. We will continue to report on this story as very best we can, and I would reiterate that this is an unconfirmed report on which the Pentagon, the State Department, and the White House will not as yet comment.
General Westmoreland, do you want the media at this point to let the American people know that your unit's been attacked?
I could care less.
Is that right? Why?
Well, my job's on the battlefield, not on the domestic scene.
Well, now, don't you think Mr. Wallace and Mr. Jennings will have some impact on you on the battlefield?
Well, I think public opinion and support of the troops on the battlefield is essential if we're going to have success. The public is formed through the media, but that's up to the administration to do that.
Your men have been hit. You're preparing defensive action. Do you want the reporter there reporting back?
Well, I have no objection. We can tolerate them.
Okay. Within limits?
Within limits.
Mr. Wallace, do you want to know that information?
Sure. Sure, and I would try to get in touch with General Westmoreland. I've served, I've covered him before, I know him, and I'm going to call him and see if I can get some information.
Well,
see if I can get him on the line.
There he is.
Okay.
Call him.
General, what is going on out there? How much can you tell us about what is going on out there?
Well, Mike, I think you've already heard that there was an attack by North Kho San, but I am not in a position, and I will not tell you when it occurred or where it occurred.
Where am I going to get my information?
Wait and see. Be patient.
So I go to Washington, I go to the Pentagon. I mean, we know each other, and I will not quote you, General Westmoreland, but I would like to get as much information as I can in order to properly understand this story.
But I will not give you any information if broadcast to the great American public would be monitored by the enemy and would give the enemy information that could be injurious to our troops.
Well, Admiral Service, let me ask you, if you were in the position of General Westmoreland, would you take the same position in terms of talking to the press?
What I would probably say is, hey, we've had a breakthrough on a central part of the front. I'm in danger of losing a battalion. I can't tell you anymore. I'm busy as hell. I'll get back to you later, and at least try to tell them as much as I could about the thing.
Well, do you want to arrange a cooperative relationship with the press? Do you want them to at least let
I already have a
know?
cooperative arrangement with Peter Jennings, who I trust implicitly. Now, on the other hand, if it was someone else who I did not trust, I'm likely to say, get rid of that booger. You know, we don't want to talk to that guy at all. And I would make sure that the information got steered as quickly as it could, whatever way.
How did you come to trust Peter Jennings?
I think that's something that one builds up over time with people. And we've been into this before about being, let's say, for lack of a better word, exploited. There are some people who have used information and probably used it in questionable ways.
For example, how has the press abused the privilege of reporting about war?
Certainly you would want them to report on certain things. On the other hand, what you do not want the press to do is to wrongfully represent that which you're trying to accomplish. And you know, you got to recognize where I'm coming from here. Military has been my part of my life as much as it has all of these people here. We think we're doing moral things for a moral government. We do not want to be represented as doing something immoral, and very often that's the way the presentation comes across. People sometimes in the press expect warfare to be antiseptic, clean, without blood. It's anything but that. It's a gory business. And yet, Vietnam showed us right up front. They zoomed right in on the people that were doing the killing and being killed. And it's, you know, the whole idea was that it was the fault of the American fighting soldier or the American fighting man that was doing it. I take great exception to that.
Well, Congressman Gingrich, I guess you'd be jumping out of your seat in Congress now. You hear this report on the 6 o'clock news, and I assume you want to know what's going on.
What you learn to do after a while is be calm. I mean, the first thing you need to do is wait and see what's happening. The second thing I think you got to look at very carefully, that the press doesn't deal with very often. We live in an instantaneous world at the opposite end of morality. Do you really want Tommy Jones' mother to learn that Tommy was killed because of a live shot from a battlefield that's in her living room before the Army or Navy or Air Force Marine representative can get there to soften the blow? I mean, we're all going to have to learn to live in this electronic neighborhood where I think all of us are a little bit out of whack and out of sequence. One last comment as a history teacher. December 1861, the New York Times printed the exact structure of fortifications around Washington and what unit was in each part of the structure. It is the nature of a free press to do its job, I think, aggressively, without much regard for the problems of the military. And I think it's been that way all of our history except for the largest of wars like World War II. And we just have to learn to live with that.
Lieutenant Downs, you're in charge of a platoon in South Kho San. Your orders are to take a hill that we lost as a result of the North Kho Sanese attack. You have the men in your platoon, our artillery is there, that's the area that we lost, and you're ready to go. What do you say to your men?
I'm going to tell my men what the mission is. We'll lay out our battle plan, our operations order for just a platoon. The orders I'll tell them is that we are outnumbered. I want us to get to the top of the hill. I'll also give them some specific orders that I think are necessary based on my judgment at the time. I'll tell them that these are enemy soldiers, they're to kill every one of them.
Wait a minute, Lieutenant Downs. What do you mean, every one? What if we're not taking prisoners?
No prisoners.
Well, what about wounded North Coasanese? What are we going to do with them?
It depends on the situation. It depends on the action at the time. The general order to the platoon is that we are going to take the top of the hill. I don't want any prisoners taken.
By any means necessary?
I'm going to leave it just like that. My squad leaders and my platoon sergeant know how I feel about these matters. They'll pass the order down to the men.
Mr. Jenkins, Lieutenant Downs told me right? Is that what I should expect? First battle?
I don't know that you'd receive an order to take no prisoners. It has happened in the past. Such orders have been issued. It depends on the circumstances, but I don't know that the circumstances you described would call for
Why not?
no prisoners.
I thought the whole idea was teaching me to be a killing machine, and that those people are the enemy. They're North Coasanese.
They are the enemy. So long as they continue to be active combatants standing between you and the hill, they are legitimate targets, and you may kill them. If they fall to the ground wounded, if they surrender, they are no longer combatants, and you do not have the right to kill non-combatants.
What do we do with them?
You take them prisoner.
What if you can't take them prisoner? Your options are to leave them there or kill them.
That's a decision that each man is going to have to make. I don't know an order to cover that. The officer will make that decision, or the NCO will make that decision. Ultimately, it's going to come down to each individual soldier is going to look at another soldier, whether standing in front of him with a bayonet or lying down on the ground bleeding, and he is going to have to make that decision. But I, as the officer, am not going to tell the men that they will murder prisoners, that they will kill wounded.
Is that murder, Lieutenant Downs?
It depends upon the circumstances. In the heat of combat, as you're rushing the hill, there's a wounded man in front of you. You make the instantaneous decision to kill him in order that you don't know how seriously wounded he is. Maybe he can shoot you as you go by him. You don't have time to have men take care of him. You don't have time to tie him up. That's not the purpose. I'm concerned about my men. I want them to get to that top of that hill. I don't care about the enemy. There's no one around me that's concerned about my men as the way I am concerned about my men. That is, I have an obligation to complete the mission. I have an obligation to my men, and I must balance that properly. Now, the decision I make, I must live with. That's the consequences. As the officer, I expect my men to complete that mission. Now, the nuances of what happens during that period of violent combat is something that I do not think can be second-guessed. I think the officer on the ground has got to have a set of morality and ethics, and his men must know what they are. So when he gives an order, it's within the context of the way he believes his principles and his leadership should be evaluated and carried out properly by the men underneath of him.
Major Stewart, what are you going to tell me if you're in charge of this platoon to take the hill?
Now, I think that Lieutenant Downs is absolutely correct in his assessment. In a fast-moving combat environment, there are going to be snap decisions on the ground that need to be made by the individual combatant with respect to who you shoot and who you do not shoot. But I think that to give an order that we will kill everybody when we take this hill is an improper order. I think that that flies in the face of all of the training, all of the regulations, the rules of engagement, the law of war, and everything else that we should have been teaching in our normal training mission all along with our infantry and our support branches.
Father Hare?
I think fundamental distinction here is between the rules by which you live and then the situation of warfare where subjective elements may overcome your ability to follow the rule. In other words, I think Mr. Jenkins laid it out just right. There really is an objective distinction between killing someone who is an active aggressor and killing someone who no longer is an active aggressor. The situation of running up a hill and being overwhelmed with fear, anger, etc., somebody may do something that I judge to be objectively wrong. Whether he's subjectively guilty of what you're calling murder, that distinction is fundamental to any moral action. But we need to know objectively what we instruct people to do. I think the instruction to take no prisoners is objectively wrong, morally and legally. The possibility that someone would kill someone who is no longer a combatant in the midst of battle, entirely possible. Not objectively right, may not be subjectively culpable for it either because of the passion of battle. That's fundamentally different. How the orders are given is the first moral judgment.
Colonel Connell, is it likely that we could be in a situation where we can't take prisoners? We'd have to kill a soldier, whether or not that North Coast soldier is armed?
After he surrendered?
Yes.
No.
It won't happen?
No. You can't be. Presumably, we've gone to war to fight an evil. That's the only reason we went to war, and you just become the thing you're fighting.
Well, we've gone to war to fight an evil, but we've been told that our men have been killed, that our position's been taken, and we're trying to regain it. And you were the lead in this platoon, and we come up on a North Coast soldier who's pretty seriously wounded. Seems to be saying his last rites, holding the crucifix. And you can't take prisoners. Those are your orders. Get to the hill. You can't take prisoners.
It's not a legal order.
Well, assuming you're ordered not to take prisoners.
It's not a legal order.
I understand that.
It's not binding.
I'm giving you the order. Are you going to follow the order or disobey it?
I'm going to disobey it.
So you won't do it?
I won't do it.
Okay.
Unless he's a threat to me or to the other Marines.
He's wounded.
But what you've described, he's not a threat. He's out of the fight.
He's wounded, and if he has a gun? He's wounded and he has a gun. Is that enough?
What's he doing with the gun? Can I take it away from him? Can I take it away from him?
Sure.
That's good enough.
What if he points the gun?
I'll kill him.
And what if he holds it inside?
He's not a non-combatant anymore.
So you will only kill when he poses a threat to you by raising that gun?
No, there's a big gray area in there where I might kill him too.
Give me an idea of when that would happen.
You started to say it. He's holding it. It's starting to come toward me. He's doing something that gets me scared that I think he might be threatening me or one of the other Marines. That's the hard part right there.
Well, Chaplain Tatum, I'm G.I. Joe, and I'm just about to head out to take this hill. Lieutenant Downs. Can I talk to you?
Certainly.
This is real. This is the real thing. And I've never been in battle before. And I know it may sound a little silly, but I was wondering if you'd say a prayer for me.
It's no problem. I'm willing to pray for you, and I'm willing to pray for that unit, for their safety, for their conduct, that they would do things in a moral manner.
Would you bless this mission so that we will successfully engage the enemy and regain our territory?
I will pray that you come back safely.
Well, I want you to bless the mission, Father. I want you to bless the mission with the hope that we'll be successful.
I will pray that you come back safely.
Will you bless my weapon? Will you bless my weapon in the sense that I want to make sure that when I use that weapon, I use it right and that I kill the enemy?
I will not bless your weapon. You'll have to find another chaplain, but good luck, because you probably won't find one that'll bless your weapon.
Why?
I don't think that's part of our job. I probably will talk to you about your fears and going on this mission, and I'll pray with you about those fears.
General Scowcrow, is that the right thing to do?
I think it is. I would not depend on the chaplain to do the military mission. I would depend on military training.
Well, what's his job? What is he supposed to do?
His job is to give comfort to individuals, to strengthen their fears as they're going into combat and facing death. That's his job.
Well, he gave me comfort and told me it was all right to join the military. It's all right to go forward. And now I want to go and successfully carry out what I've been trained to do. And he's telling me he won't even bless my mission.
He will bless you, not your mission.
What's the difference?
I think the difference fundamentally is that he is administering to the soul, to the religion, to the inner sense. He is not a part of the politics of the war between North and South Kusan and the United States, and we shouldn't make him a part of it.
So I can't expect him to do any more than to bless me.
Personally, I would be delighted if he would, but I don't think we can expect him to do it. I don't think that's a part of his role.
Well, tell me why you'd be delighted.
Because I want to take that hill.
All right. If you had the opportunity to tell him that, would you tell him that?
No, I would not.
That's not his role?
No, I don't think it is. But anything that would help me take that hill, I would be happy to have.
Anything that would make your men feel that they're doing the right thing.
Right. That's right.
That you would do.
Yes.
Lieutenant Downs, we're taking the hill, but we're suffering heavy casualties, as I told you. And in the process of taking the hill, it becomes apparent to you that this mission's not going to work. Now, do you want to radio that back to headquarters?
Well, are we at a standstill?
Right, we can't move.
Pinned down, we can't move.
And you're losing men.
I'm losing men. I'll radio back for reinforcements, tell my company commander what the problem is, tell him we're pinned down, we can't move forward.
And you're not going to retreat at that point. You're going to wait for orders.
And I'm not retreating, we're pinned down. I want to try and figure out a way out of it so I can continue the attack.
General Meyer, he calls you, and he tells you he's suffering heavy casualties, that men are being lost, and there's no way he's going to be able to successfully make it to the hill. But an important fact in this hypothetical, General Meyer, is that you know that he's not going to be able to make it. In fact, you sent that platoon out as a decoy, knowing that every single man in that unit would probably lose their life. If Mr. Downs continues to go forward as he's going, the enemy North Sudanese troops will follow that attack, and you'll be able to launch a more successful military reprisal from another unit, from another position. Now, when you get that call from Lieutenant Downs, do you tell him that he's a decoy?
No, I would not, because it's very important that people who are off on missions such as that understand the criticality of their mission to the success of the total operation. If they know they're a decoy, there's no way that they're going to do their very best.
Lieutenant Downs is a soldier.
But if I told him he was a decoy, he's also a decoy. And he doesn't. And when he went up that hill, he may have given the soldiers a little bit different type of instructions.
Well, General, is that the ethical thing to do, to deprive him of that information?
If it's for the greater good in that particular situation, if it means that in the end that far more soldiers are going to live, if it means in the end that the opportunity is going to exist for us to win or lose, the answer would have to be yes, and it's a great tragedy as far as Lieutenant Downs is concerned, but military leaders throughout history have had to make decisions such as that, from Gettysburg to wherever it happens to be.
Lieutenant Downs, you feel any different now?
No, because I agree. That is the role, that's your job. I know it sounds almost cliche, but as a combat officer, you are given orders. You must trust in your superiors when they give you those orders, knowing in your heart sometimes they're not the best orders that you could be given, but also understanding that your role and your job is to carry them out to the best of your ability. And as a combat infantryman, you always have that thing inside of your heart that says, I will make it to the top of that hill.
You figure out by the time you're down to the last few men that you're a decoy. Would you tell your men?
Absolutely not. We are there to do our job. We are possibly making it possible for thousands of other men to survive by our action. And that's the purpose we're there. We cannot on our own make a decision to withdraw, because if we can hold out 1 more minute, 5 more minutes, then it may determine the course of the battle.
Well, why don't you tell me you're doing a great thing? You're going to be a decoy so that a greater mission can be accomplished.
Because you're not a decoy. You're part of the military strategy of winning the battle. And you ultimately will help your country.
General Meyer?
Yeah, I think one of the things up front that you must understand, and that is that essentially it is unethical not to be professional at the art of war, or not to be professional at whatever art you're involved in. And I am assuming in this situation that we have already decided that from a professional point of view, this is the best way in which to employ the force in that particular situation. And that element that's being used in that area contributes to the greater good.
Lieutenant Downs, one of your men just doesn't accept this. He can see his buddies dying left and right, beside him, behind him. He said, this is suicide. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going forward. And you're ready to move.
I'm ready to continue the attack.
I'm not going.
I'm going to give him orders that he will continue the attack.
Lieutenant, I'm not walking in the face of this. This is ridiculous. Men are just being murdered.
I'm not going to have time to argue with you.
Great, then I'll just stay here.
I'll hit you with the butt of my rifle, and I will tell you to go up that hill or I'll shoot you.
I'm not going.
In that case, I've already given you the order. I told you what would happen if you didn't do it. We're under heavy fire. All these thoughts are going through my mind. The men are looking at me. I've got stress that is unbelievable, but I've got to take that hill. I'm going to kill you.
You shoot me.
I will shoot you in order to save these men. This is not a situation in which I have time for argument, discussions, nothing else but follow me expressly to my order. And if I have to kill you in order to save the lives of my men, I will make that decision. I will face up to the consequences of that later in a court-martial and explain myself, but I know at that exact moment in time, I've got to make that decision, and I will live with it. But you are dead.
Well, you've got a different situation. I'm not angry about what's going on. I'm terrified.
That's right.
I'm paralyzed.
So am I.
I'm a second soldier. I'm scared. I can't move. I can't move.
What kind of soldier are you? You're the second soldier?
Yes.
Have I shot the first one?
Absolutely. I'm really scared now.
Yeah, you should be. You should be, because I'm going to run over to you, I'm going to kick your butt, I'm going to drag you up the hill, you know, I'm not going to threaten to shoot you. Every man is a different decision. I get to the next man, and that's you, and you don't want to go up that hill, you're scared, I'll probably grab you by the scruff of the neck, I'm going to drag you up, I'll do things to you, I'll hit you.
Is it wrong for me to be afraid?
No, no, it's not wrong. I know you're scared, but I'm scared. We're all scared. That's the fact of combat. But being scared is not a reason to stop, and I will not allow it.
Mr. Jennings, you're there.
I thought you were ready to do that.
You're with the platoon.
Oh, I wouldn't have a news guy near me in a situation like this.
Well, we do. Unfortunately, Mr. Jennings is there. And you see Lieutenant Downs trying to take control of his men. And you see the soldier refusing to go forward. You've got your camera.
That's the reason you wouldn't be with me.
What are you going to do, Mr. Jennings?
I would try to stay out of the officer's way. I would not intervene. I would try to capture as much of it as I could on videotape.
Why are you going to film this lieutenant shooting a private, an American soldier?
To use one of the great cliches of journalism, because it is the first rough draft of history. We are witnessing in that little corner of the globe an historic moment in what may or may not turn out to be an historic struggle. And my job and my camera team's job at that point is to record history. The reason I'm staying out of his way is because I don't want to make any judgments about it.
General Westmoreland, do you want Mr. Jennings there filming this lieutenant trying to maintain order over his men?
Well, if Mr. Jennings is on the battlefield with his cameraman, he is not going to be welcomed in that platoon, because it's not only Mr. Jennings, you got a sound man and you got a photographer. And that is going to give away Downs' position.
I may complicate his job, General, but I'm not in a position to give away his position to the enemy. Surely I'm at this point an integral part of the unit.
What I'm saying is you don't belong there, and the combat troops don't welcome you there.
Well, actually, I've been with this unit for quite some period of time, and though the officer has, Lieutenant Downs has been a little difficult, I got to know quite a lot of the man, and even he doesn't think I'm the worst thing that's ever come down the pike. And probably at this moment, he's not thinking too much about me anyway. He's really thinking about his man. I'm trying to stay out of his way.
You may be there by happenstance, I admit. But since I've got the floor, I'd like to make a few points. He allegedly gave orders that he would take no prisoners. But I would like to ask him this. You attack the hill, followed by an artillery and mortar preparation of that hill. You perhaps may have had a psychological warfare unit there broadcasting to the troops. Lay down your arms and you'll be safe. So you attack the hill, and suddenly you see a lot of the soldiers of Khorasan throwing down their weapons and holding their hands up. You're not going to kill them.
That's right. That's a different circumstance. My ultimate goal, always driving me, is the mission and my men. Now, given the circumstances that General Westmoreland just said, yes, he's correct. I would never give my men that order. But I don't see that hill in front of me there as an unarmed person. I see it as a hill full of soldiers who initiated action against us, and I'm going to retake the hill. A moment of time between being wounded and a moment of time between being weaponless, to me, is an esoteric discussion, because I am going to kill the enemy and take the hill, and I will pay the consequences later, and if I win, then sometimes that is the best judgment of all. But it does not mean you're ruthless. It does not mean that you're heartless. It does mean, though, that you have set up a tenure among your men ahead of time. They are counting on you to help them survive. They don't want their wife or their mother or anyone else to receive notice they've been killed. And I don't want them to get killed because I made a judgment decision, well, you know, we'll take prisoners, we'll let the wounded go, because in my experience, sometimes prisoners have weapons underneath their clothes, sometimes wounded use that as a trick, and I don't want to put up with that. I'm not going to take that gamble, not in this instant of time.
Let me make sure everyone understands the military ethics is that we don't kill prisoners, we don't kill the wounded, we don't shoot our own troops. As a basic, you know, I think it's moral, I think it generally in best interest, even from a self-serving standpoint, whether it's intelligence information, whether it's to get other enemy to lay down their arms or whatever. But there are circumstances, and we ought to recognize that they are dire circumstances. They are history in making. I mean, in this dire, I don't know of any case in World War II where we had in all the battle, where we had one of our commanders shoot one of the troops. He takes on a great responsibility. He's got to protect his troops. He's trying to take that hill, and he's got to do what's necessary to do it. It may involve killing prisoners, but he has to recognize that that goes contrary to the basic ethics.
And it may involve killing
and even killing his own soldier. And he's got to recognize, and he's got to live with the consequences of that in the aftermath, but is willing to take that risk if there's a court-martial or whatever. So there's a great responsibility on this young lieutenant going up there.
Mr. Wallace, Mr. Jennings tapes this lieutenant shooting an American soldier who refuses to go forward, and he sends it to New York. You're his boss. You get the tape.
Yep.
Any reluctance to put it on the air?
I can look at it, obviously. I talk to him. I will investigate it. I will do as much background as I possibly can. It doesn't have to be a quick decision, first of all. There's no deadline going here. Nobody else has this film.
Right.
We can take a lot of time and decide how to do this. My hunch is that eventually, yes.
You'd air it.
We would air it.
Let me hear what you'd say, Mr. Wallace, when the tape goes on showing Lieutenant Downs holding this gun and shooting a private. What would you say? How would you explain it? All in 3 minutes.
No, this is on 60 Minutes where we have 15. And you know something? That's very important, really. Because if you'd have enough time, you're not going to put it on the evening news, I don't think. You're going to be able to take the time, first of all, to edit it properly, to understand it properly, to background it properly. And the very discussion that's going on around this table is the discussion that's going to go on in the editorial conference among the various people who are involved. My hunch is that in the long run, the decision will be made to go with the peace. Under the rubric of war is hell, but let's understand what can take place during war. Let's understand. These are people who are charged with doing a job. Downs is charged with doing a job. The young man who was killed, we understand families. The hill had to be taken. I can see days Not a quick understanding. I can see days of discussion editorially before this thing is aired, and it'll go to the top. It'll go past me. I'm his boss, but I have bosses. But my hunch is that eventually, yes, it will be aired.
Can we hear what you will say as this tape is being shown?
What you'll say is this: an extraordinary thing happened. Extraordinary in and of itself, and extraordinary in the fact that we were able to film it, tape it, as it happened. And we thought long and hard before we decided to broadcast this. But because this is the way that war goes, and because this is a circumstance in which an officer felt that for the greater good of his platoon, he had to commit this act under battle circumstances. And for the American people to understand that this is the kind of thing that can go on under wartime circumstances, the American people are entitled to see it. Young people, parents, Washington, the Pentagon. I cannot see how you keep from broadcasting it.
Colonel Connell, let's assume that we have a report that there is a village where guerrillas are likely to be held. They're hiding. They're being protected by some villagers who are also North Coastalese, but they're civilians. And you know that in that village there is a report that a chief guerrilla who was responsible for killing 6 men in your unit within the last week is likely to be held in that village. You are the head of the platoon that's sent into this village. What are you going to do?
I need more intelligence information about how they operate, what the nature of this village is like, what the terrain around it, what all the patterns are in it, and
You've got a village with 200 people in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're all North Coastalese. We don't know who was the guerrilla and who's not.
Village will be surrounded. If we have no other way to do it, then we're reduced to the crude method of going in and searching the place, searching the people individually, searching the houses individually, looking for weapons,
now, you're going to
hiding
search
places.
women?
Could. I wouldn't rule it out.
General Skokar, you're nodding your head saying,
Yes,
absolutely. Why?
Because they can kill just as easily as men. They could be guerrillas just as easily as men.
Now, what would be your orders? I'm going into this one little hut, and there's a bed there, there's some drawers, there's some boxes, there's a hole covered with hay. What do you want me to do? What are your instructions to me in terms of how thoroughly I should search that and what I should be on the alert for?
I want you to search it as thoroughly as you possibly can to be on the alert for any evidence that the guerrillas are there in an underground bunker or have been using that place, or there's any of their equipment there. And I also want you to be very careful.
Now, someone's at that door says, wait a minute, we're not guerrillas. We're not guerrillas. We live here. Should we stop?
No, I don't need a search warrant.
You don't?
No.
You don't need anything?
No.
So you completely search the village?
Certainly.
Well, you say you go down the village and you search most of the units and you come to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people there who are bandaged.
I'd unbandage them.
Why would you do that?
We'll see if they're gunshot wounds or not.
You think they might fake it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a humane thing to do?
Yes, it's unpleasant, but I think there's a greater good here, but I don't think it's a matter of immoral or unlawful.
What's the greater good?
The greater good is to find the guerrillas.
Okay. Lo and behold, you leave the hospital, you walk out into the alley, and there you see Scarface, the guerrilla who was responsible for killing men in your unit 2 nights ago. He's got a gun, and he notices you about the time you notice him. He raises his gun. What do?
I shot him first.
Did you ask no questions?
No.
You're going to ask him to drop his gun?
No.
Why not?
I don't have time. He's raising the weapon. I'm in danger.
What if the gun is at his side and he's reaching for it?
I would like to take him a prisoner because he's much more valuable to us alive than he is dead.
but my adrenaline is pumping at that point, and I'm very nervous, and I'm not sure what I would do. I'd hope that I'd be calm enough to take him prisoner, but if he made the slightest gesture, he's dead.
What if it's gestures to swing at you, but without a weapon?
He's dead.
What if he's walking away?
He's dead. Well, that's too glib. I'd really be proud of myself if I ran up behind him and smacked him on the head with my rifle as hard as I could. And then I'd have the best of both worlds.
And then he runs away because you smacked him with the rifle. What you
I
gonna
kill
do?
him.
He's unarmed.
It's a war. I mean, there's no doubt about who this man is.
No doubt.
He's dead.
He's unarmed.
He's dead, too.
He's running from you.
Not for long.
Mr. Jenkins, if you were in Colonel Connell's position, I'm sure you'd shoot him if he pulled the gun, right?
I would.
What if he's reaching for it?
I'd probably still shoot him.
What if he's running away?
If I couldn't run him down, I'd probably fire him to stop him.
You stop him, you wound him, he gets up, he's going again.
This is some incredible guerrilla leader we have here.
Is. That's why he's Scarface.
He will not escape. I mean, he's already been wounded. He will be stopped.
What does that mean?
If I have to, I'll shoot him again.
You'd kill him if you had to?
I'd prefer not to. But there again, I'm in the same situation. I mean, we're talking about things that take place in a split second. We're talking about an incredible amount of fear that I would have. What are the other circumstances? I'm alone, just this guerrilla leader and myself. There's no one else. We haven't cordoned off this village. If we've done our operation properly, I'm not going to be in the circumstances. There's going to be somebody there that's going to grab him. I'm just going to chase him down into that somebody, and there's going to be no need for it. If it hasn't been planned properly, then I'm going to take the consequences, and I'm going to have to stop them. No, I don't want to kill him. And I would, without knowing all the circumstances, I'm just absolutely persuaded that I can do that without killing him.
If you had to kill him, you would.
There's no one else, but
it's all you.
I would do what I would have to do, and what that would be another of the secrets that I will live with for the rest of my life.
In theory, loyalty makes life simple. But the choices demanded by loyalty sometimes conflict with the demands of our own sense of right and wrong. From the lieutenant on the battlefield to the general or admiral in Washington, life and death dilemmas must be faced amid fear and uncertainty. The soldier must act in the moment, and he must live with his actions for the rest of his life, as must we all. This dialogue continues next week when the subject is confidentiality and the military. Here are some scenes from that program.
You can make any man talk.
How?
Torture, if necessary.
I'm not sure you can make everybody talk, even under torture. There would be no torture.
I submit it's very easy to sit here and to say what we would do and wouldn't do. You know, I'm opposed to torturing prisoners, but I'm not sure what I would do.
That privileged communication in the military is very important and critical, I think, to our future existence, that the soldier has someone that he can go to and bare his soul to without any fear that that person will then take that information to someone else.
I don't have to respect the privileged community. No, I don't. That's not part of my ethic. It's a part of the religious ethic. I would not violate that. But if I got it, then I'd use it.
If you want to stick your neck out and jeopardize your safety by trying to go behind the enemy's lines, assuming that the enemy is in the United States and you are a U.S. citizen. And if you want to take that chance, well, you're on your own.
You would film the North Koreans shooting the American soldiers.
Well, I guess I wouldn't. I mean, I'm going to tell you now what I'm feeling rather than the hypothesis I drew for myself. If I was with the North Koreans unit that came upon Americans, I think I personally would do what I could to warn the Americans.
You're a reporter. Granted, you're an American, but you're a reporter covering combat between North Kosan, South Kosan, and the Ally. And I'm a little bit at a loss to understand why, because you are an American, you would not have covered that story.
I feel utter contempt. 2 days later, they're both walking off my hilltop. They're 200 yards away, and they get ambushed, and they're lying there wounded. And they're going to expect I'm going to send Marines out there to get them. They're just journalists. They're not Americans.
This has been a production of Columbia University Seminars on Media and Society in association with WNET, New York. Columbia University Seminars on Media and Society is solely responsible for the content of this program. With additional support from Equicor Equitable HCA Corporation, the Good Listening Employee Benefits Company.
Annenberg Media. For information about this and other Annenberg Media programs, call 1-800-LEARNER and visit us at www.learner.org.